Hello and welcome, fellow mappers. If you've made a map before, then you know what the map review server is. You're automatically prompted to join after saving a validated map, but in case you don't know what map review is, it's a server where people submit their own maps. Each map gets entered into a queue, and then everyone is put into the same room. You have 3 minutes on each map. At the end of the 3 minutes, you vote 1 to 5 stars, and then the room moves to the next map in the queue. So it's pretty simple, very similar to the arcade if you've played that before. And if you have been in the room before, then you know that it's a mixed bag at the best of times. So if it's a mixed bag, then why do people use it? Well, there is a big purpose to it, and that is if you want to submit a map for track of the day, if you want to get Nadeo's attention, then it has to collect a lot of votes and a lot of good votes in order to get reviewed. I'll make a video on it soon going into more detail on how everything works, but you generally need 4.4 stars on average with over 40 votes. So the main challenge of map review is to impress in a short amount of time. That is, if you are going for track of the day, which I'll cover that in more detail later. But whether or not you've spent either a little bit of time or a lot of time in map review, I think everyone is in agreement that map review has problems. And today I'll be going over some of the more general issues and how to overcome them to get the most out of map review. So to start off the downsides, despite being called map review, it's actually not a great place for feedback. Each map only gets 3 minutes, and that's not a lot of time to learn one. And then voting and loading into the next map takes about 20 seconds, which isn't a lot of time for people to type out an in-depth review. And these limits are made worse if you are submitting a hard map, as the only useful feedback you're going to get is with first impressions, and that's assuming you get feedback at all. Sometimes players don't chat and the room is dead silent. And also, if you join at odd hours, servers can be empty with maybe 1 to 2 other players. However, with some strategy, you can overcome a lot of these weaknesses, but you do need a plan. And the most important tip in my plan that I always follow is if I am looking for feedback, the best option is to join at peak hours. That is, when the room is the busiest. So when you add your map to the queue, if the game says that there's more than a 9-minute wait, that's good. That's a good sign. It means that there's quite a few maps waiting, and this is a time that people are submitting their maps to get reviewed on the server. And since people are waiting for their map to come up on the review server, it means that more people are going to be in the room playing. If you want specific times to look for, peak hours tend to be an hour before the first cup of the day and another hour 45 minutes after cup of the day starts. So that might be a little confusing. Let me give an example. So for me, cup of the day is at 1 p.m. So from 12 to 1 and 1:45 to 2:45 are the best times to submit maps. Make sure that you get there a little early because wait times can be, I think the longest I've seen is about 27 minutes. So you don't want to be submitting your map right at 12:45. That might be a little late. Then people will leave to join Cup of the Day. But a lot of people, myself included, if they are playing Cup of the Day, they will go on the map review server to kind of warm up. And since more players are on Trackmania in general around that time, everywhere will be busier. And map review's no exception. And the closer that you can time it so that your map pops up closer to the start/end time is just better, as more people are going to be there waiting. And since more people are in the room driving your map, more things will be noticed, leading to more feedback. Which, I mean, that's good. That's why you're submitting it in the first place. And it also helps with getting a sense if a certain critique is an actual problem or if it's just a personal nitpick. And if something is brought up multiple times, it's probably more than just a nitpick. Still, keep in mind that these people are only driving your map for 3 minutes, so maybe it is a problem that goes away if you drive it maybe just a few rounds more. And my next tip, this is a hard one. This is very hard for me. And that is sometimes people just don't talk when they're on the server. So you have to start the conversation. The best way to get feedback is to give feedback. And so if you're on the server and you want people to make comments about your map, you have to start commenting about everybody else's map. But make sure to be nice about it. And if you can crack a few jokes, it really helps to keep the atmosphere kind of light and talkative, as it encourages other people to also vocalize what they're thinking, as they aren't the ones breaking the silence. And if players are talkative, they're having fun, once you are looking for those high scores, people will give more stars because they're in a good mood. And if people are more vocal, they'll also be more vocal about your track. And since they associate you with good things, even if there is a negative thing, they'll probably say it in a nicer way. But also, when your track pops up, don't be afraid to give a small little intro blurb to help contextualize it for the feedback. And I do mean small. Don't chat a lot, but maybe say whether or not it's for cup of the day, any specific style you're going for. Maybe if it's a hard map, give a little bit of a warning. Just say, hey, this is a hard one, might not be great to learn in 3 minutes. And then at the end of the round, thank people for playing your map. And if you haven't received any feedback, you can ask specifically for feedback. So just say something like, thanks for playing my map. Does anyone have any thoughts? You'll appear to be more receptive to feedback, because some people, they're scared. It's kind of intimidating. You don't want to say anything that could possibly be taken negatively and then have the other person just start yelling at you, because that's not fun. So you'll appear nicer, more receptive to feedback, and because of that, they'll also give higher scores. It doesn't work every time, but if you do these things, your odds of getting good feedback and higher scores go up tremendously. I can personally attest to these things. When I wasn't following these tips, my maps tended to get lower scores, and once I started really trying to follow these, even without changing my maps that much, the scores increased a lot. And I also got quite a bit more feedback as well. So those are the things you should do. But what are the things you should not do? So the biggest thing is don't queue the same map multiple times in one day without major changes. And also, if you've been submitting the same map a lot, like nearly every day for the past couple weeks, just take a break. Even if it's just for 1 week, just take a break. You'll start to annoy the map review regulars, and it's happened to me personally where I just submitted a map after every single minor change, just every day for a few weeks, and people ended up typing in the chat like, hey, can you just stop submitting this? Like, we get it, we've seen this a lot, I'm kind of bored of driving it. So yeah, that might not be the best way to get feedback. Even if you are looking for a bunch of feedback, you aren't completing a speed run. Just calm down. You can take your time submitting it, maybe once every couple days, every few days. And that'll also help people kind of refresh their minds, and then they don't remember what the track was previously, so that way they get a fresh look at what your map is currently. Also, if you are giving feedback, don't say negative things or insults. Obviously, you can give criticism, but make it constructive. If there is something negative, make sure to keep it about the track itself and not the mapper. You do not want to go for personal insults, because you don't know the other person who submitted their map. Maybe they're a new mapper that they are super worried. It's one of their first maps. They're worried about what other people are going to think. And then you come along and confirm all of their fears. And then they come away from the experience like, wow, that was awful. I'm never doing that again. I will never build another map. So you could potentially discourage new mappers, but also if you aren't nice to other people, they're probably not going to be nice to you. So when your map comes up, they might not be as helpful, and they're probably also going to give a lower rating. But to counteract that, don't specifically ask for 5 stars. That makes you seem entitled, and also it might make other people give 1 star just purely out of spite, because no one is entitled to 5 stars. That's why Nadeo takes the average. Because there's no map that's always going to get 5 stars, so don't ask for it. But also, kind of on the opposite end, don't give 1 star unless it truly is an awful map. I'll go into more detail in a future video, but it is super annoying to upload your completed map, get a bunch of 4 and 5 star ratings, then a couple people give 1 star ratings, and it crashes the entire score. I'm speaking from personal experience. It is frustrating and disheartening. So at least for my sake, please don't give 1 star ratings unless it truly is a map that deserves it. So when you are taking feedback, don't take every piece of criticism to heart. Someone will have a complaint about something no matter what you do. For a personal example, I had a map where I had a wall ride that I initially had a cam change for. It's very common to do this on inversions, loops, longer wall rides and such, except it was a very short wall ride. And I got the comment from some people that, hey, you don't really need a cam change here. It's just kind of annoying and gets in the way. I was like, okay. So I went into the map editor, took out the cam change, play tested it a bit, and decided that, you know what, I actually kind of like this better without the cam change. And the next few times that I put the map through map review, I always got the comment from someone, hey, you should put a cam change on that wall ride. I was just like, really? We really doing this again? So if you end up trying to listen to every single person, it's just, you'll end up going back and forth on some changes. So just decide for yourself whether or not it's something that you should or should not change. And for my last thing to avoid, I hardly see anybody else do this, but don't drive your own map. I always see people drive their own map, and it bugs me a little bit, because this is one of the best opportunities you will get to watch other people learn your map. So spectate others to see where they're getting lost, or if everybody seems to be crashing in the same spot. It helps you get a sense of difficulty or flow, as if everybody is crashing everywhere, it might be a super difficult map. Or if people are flying off the track, it might be a sense that your flow is kind of off. Also, if you've put in a few fake routes for scenery purposes, if a lot of people tend to drive into those fake routes, then you might need a couple more signs. And hopefully you should have already driven your own map a lot. So just driving it a couple more times in the 3-minute time limit shouldn't change your opinion about things too much. Take this time instead to observe other people, because as I said previously, this is one of the best times you will get to watch other people learn your map. So just to recap everything real quick, is map review a great place for feedback? No, definitely not, but it is what we have. You've probably noticed that a lot of my tips just boil down to being a good community member. Remember to use the chat, and when you do, always say nice things. You can say negative things, but make sure that they're in a nice way. And giving constructive feedback is the best way to get constructive feedback. Join at popular times to get the most comments, and don't queue your map too much or too often. It's okay to take breaks. Remember that you can't make everyone happy, and also to spectate others instead of driving the map yourself. If you follow these tips, I guarantee that you will have a much better map review experience. And hey, who knows? If enough people start doing these things, maybe map review might not be so bad after all. So what did you guys think? Did you like my tips? Did you not like some of them? Did I leave something out? Make sure to let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to join me on my mapping journey to become a decent Trackmania mapper, then subscribe. I have a lot of ideas for future mapping content, but that being said, if you have a specific topic that you would like for me to cover, you can also leave that in the comments. I can't guarantee that I'm going to make a video about it, but it does help me prioritize certain ideas or maybe get some new ones. But most importantly, thank you. I really do appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to watch my video, and I wish you nothing but good feedback and 5 stars. Bye.